News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Hour number 3 of the show. Can you believe that? It's amazing, huh? There's a brand new poll about what middle-class Americans, and then it also brings in the story, the news story that reports about this brand new poll, also brings in all sorts of dynamics, Republicans, Democrats, and people who make less money, and people who make more money, and all in between. And it's very telling about the state of our economy and the future, the hope and future of many people, and it's not good. Not good at all. And here's some of the things I wanted to share from you from this brand new story that Bloomberg reported. A majority of middle-class Americans said they're struggling financially. Well, count that in my family. My wife's coming back, and then she's going to be job hunting. She still has her business, but she's going to do that and do the job hunting, and that'll help us a lot. Honestly, when she starts doing some work, it's going to help us get right back. It's going to take about 6 months, maybe a little bit more, but we'll be just fine. And then, barring a major kind of a crisis. But I can't imagine being in certain situations. But so I still consider myself very fortunate and blessed. Almost 2/3 of Americans considered middle class say they're facing economic hardship and don't anticipate that should change for the rest of their lives. I repeat, 2/3 of every one of us are facing economic hardship and do not anticipate any change for the rest of their lives. So they're going to face economic hardships. They are now, and they're going to face for the rest of their lives. What is 2/3 of Americans? That's 66%. 66% of everybody around us, almost 7 in 10 people, is facing economic hardships right now, and they don't ever think it's going to get better for the rest of their lives. Isn't that? I mean, I'll just, instead of saying, isn't that sad? Let me say it this way. How sad is that? Isn't that sad? Holy gosh. The economy supposedly is getting better with labor, housing, and stock markets, they say, and GDP, but the data don't capture financial insecurity of millions of households who worry about their future and are unable to save. Here's the deal before I get into all the weeds. There was all this COVID money that should have been stuffed in people's pockets. Trump did some of it. Biden did even more for no reason other than buying votes. And he also, all his programs is printing money, which is causing inflation, and we're all being destroyed. His anti-energy policies, his anti-business and pro-tax, his hostility towards businesses and regulations have really hurt. His hostility and attacks and cutting off the spigot of gasoline and natural gas and energy production at every point he can, and farming it out to hostile and dictatorship socialist nations and the OPEC nations is bad, and that's what he's doing. And he's destroying our refinery, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is a strategic political reserve instead of the petroleum reserve. This man's destroying our abilities to be safe in the event of a serious crisis, which is what that's supposed to be for. But here's my question. Are you struggling financially in this are you struggling financially in this economy with all this inflation? Are you struggling in this economy financially with all this inflation? And how are you struggling? In what ways? And do you think you're going to be stuck there for the rest of your life, like this new poll says? And that's up 2/3 of Americans. I'm going to tell you right now, that is horrible. It's a horrible way to live, too. Optimism and you know what it is? We're missing gratitude in our personal lives, regardless of, and don't ever let somebody say irregardless. There's no such word as irregardless. It's not a word. It's regardless. There's no ir. That's an added word that's not a word. Regardless of what your situation is, there is so much gratitude you should have. And what you need to do is look for the things around you to be grateful for. But I want to hear, I'm not saying, I'm asking you to share with me if you're struggling financially in this economy with all this inflation and how. And then do you think you're going to be stuck there for the rest of your lives like this poll says? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. We've seen our emergency fund, or contingency fund, we prefer to call it, for the past several years because emergency makes it sound alarming. We've watched it dwindle from being full to little by little by little by little. And we didn't get our fat amount back on our taxes. There's some more taxes to be done and some more things that will lower our anything. We don't owe, but we usually get a nice chunk, and we're not getting that right now. Now, my CPA, who's also my sponsor at IRSprob.com, Randy Martin, that thankfully asked us for a few more things that will really help us, that will lower our liabilities and taxes or whatever they are, and then possibly give us more back. But a lot of people would say we're good because we're close to being even, but I like being coming out. People say you're not going ahead, but I call it ahead because it confiscates money that I would normally not save. So I actually think of it as a bonus. That's just how I prefer for me. I save too, but anyway, and I am saving right now. But our emergency fund has been, or contingency fund has been dwindling for month after month. And then, of course, the things that it's never like if something's going to happen, it's when. You're going to have a car repair. I had one that was $1,300. Another one, like the next month on the other car, I think there was $800 and something. I mean, so it was like $2,200 in 2 months. And I had the cash for it, and I wasn't alarmed. Thank you. I say thank you to my provider. But they also talk about the stress on people who are debt-free versus those who are not. And I'm going to tell you right now, by hard work and by provision, not my provision, but by provision, I have become debt-free. We worked our butts off, okay? And I can go through detail on that, and I have over the years. So this is a sacrifice my wife and I made to get here. And we try to have that same discipline, okay? But it's never the same. But here's what I've looked at. I have looked at, we are cutting back all of our vacations. And they're all local or regional. We drive the car. And we do points and try to really do it economically. That's one thing. Groceries you can't cut back on. We just don't get steaks all the time unless it's on sale and it's not regular. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And you try to entertain home. I mean, what are we doing paying for these streaming services? I don't have too many of them, but what are we doing paying for these streaming services if we're going to go out all the time? Right? All right, I'll give you more of my issues, but I want to hear from you. Are you struggling financially in this economy with all this inflation right now? And do you think you'll be stuck there for the rest of your lives? As this full poll that says 2/3 are suffering, economically right now, and the same 2/3 thinks they're never going to get better for the rest of their life. That's insane. That's like indentured servitude mentality. I'm telling you, don't do that. And you do control your future, and you can. And look, I've been trying to boost my income with extra work and extra strategies in my business, and in my work here and my business outside of work. That is the same thing I do here, but I'm on the side. And I'm telling you something: we can always do more. We can always do better, and it takes time, and you got to be dedicated. And I think that's where I'm redoubling that. And my wife is, going to go out and do some work on the side, plus what she does with her business, and we're going to do what we can. And when I come back, I'm going to tell you about how the times that we were financially suffering the most and needed to get ahead and we had to do all sorts of extra sacrifices were the times we look back and they were the sweetest, best times of our lives. And the time of quote unquote suffering this past week with all the damage to my house and the trees down and my car was hit and I was in a hotel and there was no power and all this stuff has been one of the best weeks that I've gone through. Not because of what's going on bad, but because of what I've been able to see. And I want to share that with you next. Plus, hear from you at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. And then we get into, after that, DOJ's bizarre reason for not releasing the audio of Biden's blundering interview. And even more so today, another one, they're doubling down and tripling down. It's like, this is insane. Next. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. This will be fun on the not releasing the audio. It's just bizarre. You know what else we didn't end up doing? There's a little bit on the Trump election with that we didn't end up doing. We'll hold that probably till tomorrow. The Biden audio thing is ridiculous. First, I wanted to still stay on the most voters here in this brand new poll, and not voters, but just people, 2/3 of all Americans say they are suffering financially and do not see, the same 2/3 do not see their economic prospects looking any better for the rest of their lives. That's crazy. I really don't feel that at all, even though we're in a tight spot right now financially. And it all has to do with the inflation. I don't blame the car repairs. It's a culmination of things, but those are all things that come up. So that's just not an excuse, and that's not a reason. I am actually in the middle of, it's taken way too long, but I've done the 3 months of my budget where I've gone through every scintilla, and now I'm going to do the next 3 months before that, and the next 3 months. I'm going to do a year, and then I'm going to see, because I cannot go off the last 3 months. Like I said, there was that $2,200 a car repair in like 2 months. That's not a normal 3 months. You know what I mean? That'll happen, once or twice a year, other than maintenance. It's just not. You can't base the budget off 3 months when 2 out of the months it was $2,200 a car repair. It's like $1,100 a month for 2 months. So that's like what, in 3 months? It's like $800 a month for car repairs. That's not the norm. So you stretch it out over a month and you look at everything, and then you can get a number that's monthly average for the year. That's what you need to do, in my opinion. But so we're doing that too. But the best times are when you're suffering looking back. And suffering in this country is not a real suffering. We don't know what real suffering is in this country. We do not at all. We're not familiar with that. We are not. Even our poor have microwaves, color televisions, shoes, cell phones. I mean, many of them have cars. This is nothing compared to the rest of our world. Nothing. Now, you can ask people that have gone to Guatemala, have gone to Africa, Burkina Faso, or other places. There's a profound difference in life. What life and suffering are there compared to here. Now, just to go back a week, in this past week with the power outage and everything, I got to talk to people who worked in the parking garage at the hotel I was at for 4 days, who were in Mesquite, where they lost power big time. They were one of the communities hard hit. There's groups of communities across the Metroplex were hit really hard. And trees are massively down. My neighborhood's one of them. It's apocalyptic in my neighborhood. At least it was, and it still is in certain yards. It's pretty amazing. Which is why we didn't have power for 4 days. But in that time, I got to meet people who make probably 1/5 of what I do, maybe 1/4 of what I do. And they serve, and they had great vigor and smiles, and I appreciated them. And I saw they were going through the same thing as I was, but they were in a much more difficult financial. I met a woman who's single, and she lives, she's got a child. And I heard about her. She was literally, the horrible storm hit her while she was halfway to work, and she waits tables at the hotel I was at. And she's a really sweet woman. We talked for a while, and I appreciated her very much. I got to share something why Joe Biden's bad for this stuff, because she's like, well, I like what he's doing about the debt. I have terrible debt. I explained to her, though, I said, that guy over there who was cleaning up the buffet, he's paying for your debt. And, we had such a rapport, it wasn't offensive. I was being, and I said, there's the guy who's down over the back there that you can see when you go back there, washing the dishes, he's paying for your debt. I said, and then also it's inflation. You're printing more money to pay this stuff off, and it's being put on our backs. I'm paying for your debt, even though I paid mine off. It was a good perspective where she at least listened, and there was nothing negative. But anyways, I met several people, and then the guy at the grocery store that said he lost $80 worth of food, and how serious that was to him. And I told him with respect, I said, I got 4 adults, so that's going to be obviously 4 times your food. I caveated that. I said, I lost about $500 worth of food. But I said, that's huge for you and it's huge for me. It wasn't I lost. It was like, no, that'd be insulting. I have so many moments of gratitude, and I can't speak to all of them. But I'm telling you, you're darn well better than to condemn yourself to say you're going to be in this situation for the rest of your life. And I will tell you, if you are, it's your fault. Because if you're living beyond your means in your house poor, you can sell the house if you have to. I'm telling you, free yourself from the hand of the fowler, if you will, like a bird that's trapped in a net. And we sold our minivan, and we got out of a $420 some odd a month payment. This is like 16 years ago at least. And we dropped a $400 some odd payment. That gave us that much money extra each month for the rest of the next 5 years or 4 years. And we took a loss on the minivan. We lost $2,000 to $5,000. I don't know, but we got rid of it. So we knew we could have sold it for more, but that's all we could sell for at that time. So we did. So we lived in a modest apartment in Middle Georgia between Atlanta and here. Lots of us get layovers in between jobs where it's not nearly as high paying or prestigious. We had 1 car, and we arrived here with 1 car. And after a year, my wife was like, this is ridiculous. I'm sick of you. The kids were little. We were homeschooling. We could do it more than when they were little because homeschooling is only 2 or 3 hours. And she's like, I'm sick of dropping you off, coming downtown. She's like, get a beater. She did the math. She's like, look, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fine, I got a beater. And then we saved up, and now we have 2 nice cars. They're paid off. Everything's paid off except for the mortgage. And a lot of these people have, there's a huge difference in this poll between people who have debt and people who don't have debt. And you don't ever condemn yourself. You can always get out of it. I was in it. You can get out of it too. There's a way to look it up. You can find ways. Make it simple. The snowball method. But even people that have an annual income of $150,000 for a family of 4, they worry about paying their bills. A quarter of them making over 5 times the federal poverty limit, $150,000 for a family of 4, worry about paying their bills right now. It's crazy. That's why Trump is so much higher in the polling on economics, among other things, economy. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, Joe Biden and his refusal to allow his audio from his interview, not even video. Do you remember a former president who had to give a deposition on video and it all was released, both the audio and the video? Take a glance back in your memory lane. I certainly remember that one. That's next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. But you got to hear his excuse for why he won't release the audio. It's quite rich. Next. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Did you hear why Joe Biden and his Justice Department refused to allow his audio from his deposition, interview, whatever you want to call it, with Robert Hur, the special counsel? Well, the reason why, he says, and his people say, is AI. AI is going to bastardize it somehow. That is what he's saying. And AI will take what he has said in his interview. People will use it, and they will make up a deepfake that will somehow put our country or the president or our nation, our country or nation, somehow in jeopardy. And he doubled down, his campaign doubled down on it again today. And do you recall a president who had a deposition that was released? and it was a video and an audio of him. You recall that one? Is this ringing a bell yet? Yeah, his last name is Clinton and his first name is Bill. Remember seeing his deposition? Did you ever see that one, Producer Garrett? I know you're younger, Garrett, too. No? So, that was literally Bill Clinton in the deposition. That was released. We saw the video. So how is it that Joe Biden is afraid that by releasing the audio, not even the video, this is somehow going to put him or our nation in jeopardy? Do you believe that? Do you believe that's some kind of an issue? I don't. I think it's obscene. It's absurd, not obscene. I think it's absurd. I think it's because it sounds that bad. It really is that bad. I think the special counsel describing him as an elderly man with a poor memory who didn't recall the year that Donald Trump was elected president, didn't recall the year that he was, I think it was vice president, and didn't recall the year that his son died. It's okay to say, well, let's see. Every year, and I'm not ripping on him for anything with the son passing away, but every year with Bo, he says, oh, I went to visit Hallie for the first time ever at her house 8 days before the trial, not to tamper the witness. No, we didn't talk about that. No, you just got to believe us. Yeah, just like I wasn't involved with the Trump trial. No, I went there because it's Bo's anniversary. Well, you've never gone there with her before. And she, what a joke this whole thing is, right? But anyways, he goes on his anniversary. He knows every day. And I think it's ridiculous how important his son is. And I don't doubt how critical it is for him and how difficult it is to this day. I'm not saying it isn't. So I'm just saying I don't believe the man wouldn't be able to figure it out, or at least be within a year, right? Like, it was been, I think, 5 years, maybe it was 6, you know what I'm saying? It was within a year or so. That's normal for any one of us to possibly have the year off by 1 or 2. After it's been 5 or 6 years. So that's not a big deal. But he couldn't even remember. He made motorboat sounds of some kind and like engine sounds is what Special Counsel Hur said. He said, quote, the 81-year-old president sounded like a confused elderly man. That's why we couldn't prosecute him. Isn't that funny? The genuine audio, they say, would make deepfake AI versions more likely, not less. What the heck is that? If we release the audio, it would make genuine deepfakes, not video, but of audio, more likely, not less likely. There are already audio deepfakes on. Have you ever heard any of them, Producer Garrett? Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I heard one the other day. The man's voice, as far as being in a deposition with her, which he was for hours, right? Over 2 days. As far as being in a deposition with her, the man's voice is at the same tone and quiet volume in interviews. You know, sometimes he's talking like this in the interview. You know what I mean? So obviously, Time Magazine, for example, interviewed him and recorded it because it's for print. I'm not aware of video. And so this is ridiculous. It's patently absurd. The man's voice has been everywhere, all over the media, every single day, except when he's hiding, for 3.5 years and for a year when he ran. There's no excuse for this other than it's that bad. Do you buy this excuse that a deepfake AI version would be more likely, not less? Don't you love that? More likely, not less. You know, there would be deepfake AI versions. They would be less likely if he wasn't the president, too. Did you know that? If the man wasn't our president and didn't run for president and wasn't our president, there'd be less likely to be audio deepfakes like there are everywhere now. What a joke. So anyways, do you buy this excuse? And if Bill Clinton's video deposition was released, why shouldn't Biden's be released? And do you think our media would allow for the same excuse for Trump if he withheld a special counsel's audio from an interview? Do you even think this would be a debate? It would have been leaked already by his Department of Justice. Oh, somehow it got out. exclusive, New York Times, or exclusive, Washington Post. We have the tape and it's bad. And then it'll be moderate and it'll be like, oh my gosh, audio expert, this is worse than it sounds. It sounds like the man was struggling to even think. Joe Biden, don't share it. Oh, it's counterintelligence and deep fake, and it's for the country. Get out of here, you liars. It's for his ability to try to win an election because he's that bad. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you buy this excuse? And if Bill Clinton's video deposition was released, why shouldn't Biden's audio be released? And do you think the media would allow for the same excuse as Trump if he withheld special counsel audio from his interviews? My gosh. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. What a joke. So isn't this funny? I can't remember how it goes, but I heard it was Judge Janine and some others I've heard say, so wait a minute. He is, I forget how it works, but he's got to be this because of this reason, but he can't be the president because he's too incompetent to prosecute. So he's too incompetent to prosecute, but ... I forget what the other end of that was, but it was perfect. Anyway, coming up next, I want to get into, you have to hear this. This is like a must hear, and you're going to want to share it with the world when you hear it. A man who is gay, his Twitter profile calls himself like it's a he and he's gay. He's not trans or anything, but he calls himself a man and gay. But he's calls himself like a Lady Liberty or something. He dresses up like a woman, and in this kind of I think a Lady Liberty type costume, and or a princess costume actually. Maybe it's Princess Liberty. I forget. I got his Twitter feed on there, but he went to one of these Gays for Palestine Pride events, and he just asked questions. Little do they know that he's a Trump supporter, rabid Trump supporter, and conservative. You have to hear this. You have to hear how absolutely ignorant these LGBTQ activists who cheer free Palestine and trans and queer for Palestine and stuff like that. She's got all the right gear. She's saying all the right stuff. And so this conservative activist gay man dressed as a female princess, because he likes to do that, I guess, has his microphone with a little fairy thing on it and everything, like a little fairy dust type of a little sparkly thing on it as a princess's costume. And he's interviewing her. It's all innocuous. The woman has no idea that he doesn't agree with her politically. And he just asks her questions. And wait till you hear what she has no idea. And when he tells her what the truth is in a very simple, nonchalant, not confrontational way, she just goes, oh, what? Oh, no. Oh, I didn't know that. But isn't this? And isn't Israel this? And isn't... And oh, you got to hear it. It's great. It's so awesome. And it guarantees you how little anybody knows about anything in any of these protests. And they're just rabid, useful idiots. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Most likely, they don't know where Israel is on a map, and they don't know where Gaza is. They don't know the history, and they don't know who's Jewish, who's Arab, and who's anti-gay, and who's pro-gay. You're not going to believe this. All that's next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM 93.3. Oh, this is so awesome. Gays for Palestine. You hear this all the time, or queers for Palestine. You want to know what they really know and what they really think? It's really bad. They have no idea what they're talking about, no idea what they're cheering for. They have no idea who's who and who's pro-gay. This is insane. Okay, it's worse than you even think as I'm describing. Here we go. Don't listen to me. Let's hear it for yourselves. This is I'm going to pull it up on my Twitter feed. This is on my Twitter feed so you can see it yourself. Because you should, and you're going to want to share it. Even if you're not a supporter of the LGBTQIA stuff, doesn't matter. This is so important to share. It's so telling. And I want to set this up by giving you the name of, here we go. This is a gay man who calls himself Lady MAGA USA. He dresses as a woman, like a princess pageant type thing, Lady MAGA USA. And his headline is Patriot, Advocate, Proud American, Not Alphabetical, Costume Artist, Facebook, Lady MAGA USA. And in Salt Lake City, almost 35,000 followers, which is pretty nice, actually. Here is, especially for a private person that does social media, here's this segment that is a must hear. Gays for Palestine.
So I did a study abroad in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine.
Would you say you're pro-Palestine or pro-Israel?
Pro-Palestine.
As a gay man, I would be punished and or put in prison or killed if I were openly gay in Palestine. How do you react to that?
I didn't know that. So
it is illegal to be gay in Palestine. You are punished by prison or death.
Is Israel?
No, Israel has gay pride. Israel is completely open to lesbian and gay people. So Palestine puts them in prison or kills them. You weren't aware of that?
I was not aware of that, no. So that does pose an interesting aspect.
Have you seen the Queers for Palestine movement? It's a very common movement, but I don't see any Muslims for Queer movements.
Yes. That's where it gets gray, right? Like, that's where I feel like...
Well, for me, it's not gray. I am fearful of Islam because there is no Islamic country on earth that embraces me as a gay man.
So, okay, so maybe I'm confused because Israel, which is still an Islam country, right?
No, Jewish.
Okay.
So Israel's Jewish, Palestinians are Islamic.
Okay, that is a 1 minute, 20-second video, and this woman totally had no idea this guy was not on her side. And she literally, the first thing she says, and she's wearing a rainbow skirt and a rainbow shirt that says "Love Wins." She's got it tied over the shoulder, like the shirt's cut up and tied, and it says "Love Wins." The shirt was printed by JetBlue. And they're at some kind of a rally or protest or something, and he just gently, so they think he's all on their side. They don't think anybody that looks like him and is gay like him would ever be against them. She said, quote, "So I did a study abroad in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine." Doesn't that mean like I was there? My son, when I describe what my son's doing, he's a student at one of our major public universities here. They have a program that is highly competitive, hard to get into, and by his hard work and God's grace, he got accepted, and he's in Japan. I've told you about this. I brag about him. I call it foreign exchange, study abroad. I don't even know what they call it. He's a student getting he's a full-time student getting all the credits that they have transferred. It's the same as going to the local university here, okay? So is this woman saying she was in the Middle East with Israel and Palestine, or is she saying she studied? Is she so stupid she studied here thinking she was abroad? Like, what? These are idiots. There's no way to sugarcoat this. These are idiots. Are you surprised? Are you surprised by this? Are you surprised this clown has no idea? I'm not calling her a clown because of her gay preferences or whatever. I'm calling her a clown because the woman has beclowned herself. It's a clown show. She has no idea what she's doing. She thinks Israel is an Islamic state. She thinks Israel is anti-gay and would kill you if you're gay. He says, no, Israel openly celebrates pride. You can be flaming gay there. Like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and nobody's going to do anything to you. They might, most of them probably say, great job, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like here. I don't support that lifestyle, but it doesn't matter. You're free to do that here. Now, she thinks you can't do that in Israel, and she thinks Palestine celebrates that. She's got to be on TikTok where that's promoted, and China is, they meet with Hamas. They like Hamas. They like what they do. They met with them after the terror attack and said it was a great meeting. They met at the Hamas top guys, the billionaires, the top 3 billionaires at the 5-star suite they live in with a full plush multi-billionaire luxury. Their sons and their grandchildren. They don't live and go into Gaza. They just make billions off of it. That's where it all goes. And China was there, met with them, said they had a very productive, strong meeting. And that was about 3 months after they killed all those Jews and did that horrific terrorist attack. So she thinks you can go there. She has not seen the videos, including ones that happened after the terrorist attack. I've seen people that are gay that have no pride stuff. They're hanged in this town square, the center square. It's celebrated. It's widely celebrated. I would be shocked if you're not just as bad and not just Hamas, if you don't support Hamas and you live there, which is 72% of them all rapidly support Hamas, even after they slaughtered the Jews. They love the Jews being killed and raped and tortured and kidnapped. This woman is so stupid, she literally thinks she could go there in her pride outfit and cheer queers for Hamas and wouldn't get hanged like they do the gays. Especially the ones that may not even be gay. They think they are. They were hanged. I saw that. And it's unbelievable. Anyways, that's who's protesting. She thinks Israel is Islamic and hates gays, and she thinks Palestine loves gays and queers and celebrates it. God help this idiot, and God help our country with these idiots. I mean, it is unbelievable, sad, and sick. I mean, the country is.